Welcome in. I am down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am the big O, Jerry Ostroski. She is in Miami, and she is Sara Larson. Amazing she's in Miami. She seems to be everywhere else other than Miami.
Mm.
But you are listening to the Line to Gain show right here on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. And we are up, as always, Wednesday night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. And, you know, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on your phone, head on over to YouTube, pick it up. You can get in the comments like Richard has. Be no doubt. Triggs is already in the house. Jump on in. You can interact with the show. If it's good, we'll put your message up. Also, super chats get priority as always, and hit that smash and like button. And we've got a little bit to talk about because we went over to old dreary London and we played old and dreary. Sarah, wasn't
Yeah,
wasn't a very good game.
it wasn't. London wasn't old and dreary though. It was sunny and kind of hot. It was beautiful. It was my first time over there and got to take in some of the sights and tons of Bills parties. There was 3 bars, so it makes it very difficult. I didn't get over to one of the bars, but I got to hang out with the UK Bills backer, the organizer. We
Right.
did a bar hop Saturday afternoon. So I did get to hang out with them, but I never made it over to the bar that they are hosted out of. But it was, definitely a fun weekend. If nothing else, I can say that at least I got a nice vacation and experience out of it. But yeah, I had an amazing time. Got to see the stadium, which for those of you that don't know, I'm sure most people do. The architecture company is the same company that is building
Right.
or that designed the Bills Stadium. So there's some similarities, they say, and I have some comments about the stadium. We'll get into that a little bit, but you know, uh, I think people are going to be pretty darn excited about the new stadium.
Yeah, the stadium looked awesome. The field obviously was trash.
Yeah,
But
that's a
that's trying to put turf on top of grass, on top of turf, on top of grass, and
so we got to see the process. So what they do is they literally have like a platform with grass grown on the platform. So everyone who talks about you can't have grass in every
right,
stadium, it's bull. They literally have a platform with grass grown on it. Um, that goes literally goes like away. Like it opens up, and when it opens up, they have the concrete floor which they then laid the turf over the top of. They come
right.
in with big machines and laid the turf down. Um, I do not understand what the thought process was, whether
Right,
it's the stadium that was like you're not messing up our grass or
right.
what. Why go through that process of removing pushing back the platform that definitely has give and that has the natural grass and I don't understand that in favor of playing on the turf other than the turf might look a little nicer or greener or whatever on television. I don't know what the thought process is
Well,
behind the NFL.
I think you have to look at this. First of all, the soccer people are so picky about their surface, and they probably felt they did not want a football game played on their grass. Okay. Second of all, is if you're going to have this game, you can't put minimal lines on it. You have to go ahead. They had all the decoration, they had the Bills, they had the Jaguars, all that stuff. So I'm sure it had to do with paint and all of those things as well, because there's just so much that goes into getting a field prep for an NFL
Right.
game. That being said, the the process that you told me about, which I did not know that was the process. Basically, it's like what we used to play on in Indianapolis. Any of the indoor domes back in the day before they had the big pods like Arizona that brings grass in and out. It was just they rolled a carpet over top of the concrete floor, and that's what you played on. That being said, I mean, we've seen a lot of injuries on grass too. It's not like injuries don't happen on grass.
Right.
I truly believe that wear and tear happens on turf probably more than grass as far as, you know, arthritis in joints, soreness, those types of things, especially your older players. I don't. I played on a lot of really bad grass fields that were also um, fields that could get you injured on. So it's not like grass is the answer. Grass is the answer if it's done properly. You know, I just think that right now with just coming out and say it has to be grass. Well, if it's done properly, they can do it. And you know, Buffalo's going to be turf in their new stadium. There's a lot of people that say, "Oh, you can't have natural grass in Buffalo because of the snow." Green Bay has grass. Chicago has grass. Kansas City does. Ways nowadays they put heating coils underneath the grass. They can trick the grass into growing. So there's the science in agronomy, by the way, is the science of growing grass. That's the all these golf course super go to college to to get agronomy degrees. But there's ways to do it. Again, it's the same thing I'm going to get into in a little bit when we talk about this whole debacle of going over to London. It has to do with money. You're
Yeah.
going to pay a lot of money to have a natural grass field.
Well, and you know, I keep on going back and forth, but at the same time, when you have players, current players consistently saying that they feel a difference with their footing, with the grip, with how their foot is landing and not the natural slide, has to do with the pellets. If the pellets aren't in that hold the turf down, if there is a natural imbalance of how many pellets are in a certain area.
I don't know. I think some of that's true. I think the biggest. I'll be honest with you. If players are honest, and usually the guys that are like, I watch New Heights, the New Heights podcast every week. The Kelsey brothers have been
They
adamant
talked about it,
yeah,
though.
they talk about it. Well, Jason's played for 72 years. So obviously he wants to play on grass. Kelsey plays on grass all the time, so he's used to it. But if you secretly poll the players, you would be surprised how many of them enjoy playing on turf because of the speed. If the turf is proper turf, if it's done right, turf is a very consistent surface that is fast. And you know, I think that sometimes, yeah, it's easy to get on this grass train, and I agree. I mean,
I would
natural
like
grass,
that. I think
you
it'd
know,
be an interesting thing for the NFLPA to
yeah.
do then, is to do
Oh
what,
well, you're expecting them to do something on the up and up, and
I'm
that's
just saying
probably
to
not going
do
to
a
happen.
survey and
Right,
let's survey all the players. I think that would be very interesting, because let's dead the conversation
right,
if you have a majority who say they actually prefer to play on turf.
right.
I think it would be interesting. But the Kelsey brothers, they actually had it on their show. They said it doesn't matter what kind of turf. Don't say it's one turf or the other. It's all turfs.
Right.
Don't do artificial grass, period. And then you had Taron Johnson, who went down, and he in our game, luckily he got back up and came back in the game. But they had brought the card out, and at one point, and he had said that when he fell, it was that feeling that nothing gave, that and that's the concern, right? Is that
Right.
when nothing's giving, your body is contorting in a
Well,
certain way that it's not used to.
what I'll
And
say is this, yeah. And what I'll
go
say is
ahead.
this, Sarah, and I'm sorry to cut you off. Before we get into the Jags Bills game, and we want to break that down before we get to the Giants game and move on. I think a big, and I'm not saying it's all injuries, but especially the foot injuries. I used to, I've done a million things, and I used to sell sporting goods equipment. And again, I go back to this. If you look at players when they come out of the locker room, right? Little tiny shoulder pads, no thigh pads, minimal knee pads, no hip or tailbone pad. And they're wearing these little shoes that amount to basically slippers with cleats on the bottom of them. I think a lot of it is personal protection too. I'm not saying you got to put on all these bulky pads, but shoes nowadays, I believe, cause a lot of injuries as well. especially with a lot of these foot injuries. But, and I will say this, Joab makes a really good point. And Joab, of course, of the Tulsa Bills backers, he says, why doesn't the NFL just mandate a single type of playing surface? Okay, if off the bat it can't be grass, then basically say if it's turf, it has to be this turf.
And it should
Right,
be every stadium should have the same type of field. And I agree with
right,
him. It
right,
should be mandated that every stadium has the same type of field. Because then you get used to playing on that type of field,
right,
and no matter where you go, your body is accustomed to it.
right. But you're going
John
to have
just
to get down to single-use stadiums and stuff too, because some of these stadiums are multi-use.
yeah.
You can't have 100,000 screaming Swifties out on your natural grass field,
Oh
right?
God.
You've got to go ahead and protect your surf. So there's a lot. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot more complex. Excuse me,
Yeah.
than just
But
saying
then
we should all have
but
grass.
then yeah, but then again, like we've seen, or if and if you guys haven't seen them do the Tottenham Stadium, how they literally push back, it's like a retractable
Yeah,
roof
they have that in
almost, but on the
Arizona.
floor.
Yeah, Arizona
Yeah.
has it.
So they
Yep.
retract the floor, and then it's the concrete. So John just put, wasn't the problem they laid down turf on top of grass? No, they literally removed the grass. It was a retractable floor that they removed the grass, and then underneath it is the concrete, and they laid the turf on top of that.
Well, now you're going to
So
see in the World Cup, Sarah. You're going to see in the World Cup they've developed a grass that actually grows up through turf. It's a blended surface. It has some artificial turf and it has natural grass
maybe that's the
into it.
answer.
Yeah, maybe that is the answer.
Maybe that's
But
the answer. A little
but
bit of both.
obviously, I'm glad to hear the Tottenham Stadium was nice, other than the field. Um,
The only complaint I will have, be
right,
considering this is going to be very closely constructed, for the Bills Stadium, is they had certain gates that, like, you had to go into your gate. So
right,
if you were in gate 15/16, you had to go in that gate, which for people like me that walked in over on gate 1, and the security people are like, oh yeah, sure, you can walk in here and go and walk around, and you're not gonna have any problems. I had to go through security 3 times, because every section I had to walk down, go back up and through security, and then come back down. So hopefully the Bills don't do something stupid like that and they figure that part out, because that
no,
was
I don't think
terrible.
I don't think they will. I think a lot of it has to do with the hooligans, has to do with soccer fans, because there's so much craziness that goes on in those games. But if you've ever been to Jerry World in Dallas, it's very
Ab-
sequestered like that. If you're
yeah.
down in the bottom seats, you can only go down there and it's locked off. So, you
Yeah.
know, there's
But
a lot
they
of
at
that
least
going on.
knew, the security at least knew,
Right,
no, you can't come into this gate. You have to
right,
go into your own gate.
right. All right, let's get to the game.
All right.
Not a very good game. The outcome obviously did not go our way. The injury situation on defense, especially, you could use the word dire. You lose 2 of your best
Yeah.
players, if not your best, arguably your best player on defense, and Matt Milano. I'll talk about that injury in a little bit, but offensively, Sarah, Bills come out sluggish.
Yeah.
And that's not a shock. If anybody listened to Mike Florio talk about the London experience and talked about Travis Etienne and what he said about their
Yep.
game the first week to the second week, obviously going over there on a Friday night or Thursday night or whatever it was a
Thursday night.
blunder,
Yeah.
was a huge blunder.
Yeah.
But obviously sluggish on offense, not much going on, and no
Yeah.
running game whatsoever.
So to that discussion first, let's discuss the time they chose to go over. So the argument is Jacksonville went over on Thursday night the week before. Well, so did Atlanta. They both traveled on the same day, Thursday night, all got there on Friday. So they went into that game, both of them the same,
Yep.
hungover, same, jet lag, same everything. Um Travis Etienne said the difference between last weekend and this weekend is night and day.
Right.
They needed 5 days to pretty much snap out of it. Now, I will say I did the same thing. I went Wednesday night, so a day earlier. Thursday, I landed. I did everything in my power to try to stay awake. Everyone said, do not go to bed before 10 p.m. Do not go to bed before 10 p.m. 9:03-ish on Thursday night, I was out. 2 a.m. in the morning, Friday morning. I am wide-eyed, can't sleep. The day was happening for me at that point.
Right.
I was like, so I laid there and laid there and laid there until about 6:30, 7 o'clock the next morning. And then I finally was like, let me go get some Starbucks. So then I got up and went and got some Starbucks. And again told myself, don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep for the whole day. And all day Friday, I dragged. It was 2 days in a row, just dragging. I slept okay Friday night. I think that it was because I was so tired. It was easy for me. But then again, on Saturday, still not 100%. I went to bed at about 1 a.m. Saturday night. Woke up Sunday and I'm like, starting to feel a little bit better. So I can imagine that I was there a day earlier than they were, and it took me to Sunday to feel a little bit better. I still didn't want to get out of bed Sunday morning, and I was like, I have to get to this game and I don't want to get out of bed. So I
Right.
can imagine how they felt being there a whole, still a day later and trying to get all that, accustomed and whatnot. Um, I do blame the NFL for allowing the Jags to stay there for the extra week. I don't think that in the end that was fair at all. I know that, some people are like, oh, well, they want to be home. They want their own facilities. They want their own beds. It still gave them an unfair advantage. And I will live and die by that take now. I was kind of, so after the game, when we were getting out of the van that took us back to the hotel, Andre Reed saw my friend that had a Reed jersey on, pulled him over, started talking to him. Next thing you know, we're all up at the hotel bar on the rooftop, and we're all hanging out. Him and his wife Teresa, great people, sat there, talked to them for probably 2-3 hours. We actually had the conversation of whether or not, jet lag is a thing with professional athletes. And he was like, well, it's very mental. Most of these guys are in their 20s. Do they need 5-6 days to get over it? It depends on their routine. You had one person said that they were bringing their hyperbaric chamber over on the plane. Like, it really just depends what was made available for you and what you decided to do to maintain your status quo. So I honestly think that yes, for some of these people, it really was a hindrance for them. And I don't think the NFL should ever do back-to-back international games for the same team. It does create an unfair advantage.
I made a comment on Twitter after a little bit of the game, and basically it was about the NFL that puts out the perception that they care about player health. And allowing a team to go over there, stay an extra week, and play another team that just showed up on Friday, it's totally contradictory to what you're preaching. I thought it was careless by the NFL. I thought it was an unfair advantage given to the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially when their owner owns the stadium and the owner is a huge London person. So that team was taken care of to the nth degree. It wasn't right. With that being said, I also put some blame on Terry Pagula and the Pagulas and the ownership of the
100%.
Bills. Seeing that, knowing that football team should have gone over there. If they should have flown over, to me, honestly, they should have left Monday night. You
And
played
that's what
Sunday.
the
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens just
Yeah.
decided to do. They left Monday
Right.
night to get there Tuesday morning.
Right.
And we'll see how that goes this weekend because the Tennessee Titans are not going till Thursday, so they'll get there on Friday and we'll see the difference. We'll see if one team comes out there looking like they've been there all week and the other team looks like we did. So it'll be
Okay.
interesting to see.
Triggs says that the owner doesn't own the stadium. He owns Fulham Stadium, not Tottenham Stadium. Okay. But we all know that he's come out and said a million times, you can move us to London, we'll be the London team. He's hooked up in London, okay? Say what you will.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the deal here's my problem with
Better
this. And
never
it goes,
happen.
right. And here's the problem that I have with this that moves back to my comment about the NFL and putting out the perception that they care about player health. Injuries happen because of mental fatigue and physical fatigue. That's why injuries happen. Yes, there is bad luck, but a lot of times mental fatigue and physical fatigue cause injury. And to me, it was pretty evident right from the jump that the Bills were sluggish. The Bills weren't in it. The Bills were physically, not as fast, not as alert, not as whatever into the game as Jacksonville was, who had been over there for a long time.
Right.
And I truly believe that not only, we want to, and this is where earlier I think we have to watch how we say this. I agree about playing surfaces. Be nice to have grass in every stadium. I think it's naive to think that can happen because a lot of these stadiums aren't owned by teams. They're owned by cities. They're owned by municipalities. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to save money, right? So if you want to put grass and everything, then you're going to have to spend more money as an owner. And we all know that's not happening. Okay. Point blank. They're not spending money on stuff they don't want to spend money on. So that's where my issue was. And, the game ends up 25-20. And the crazy thing about it is, and I listened to Joe Miller. I saw a lot of Joe's comments on Twitter. He was getting drugged a little bit because he put the blame on Josh Allen. A lot of this game reminded me of last year's Dolphins game down in Miami. I'm not going to lie. When we had the issue with being on the sideline and it was too hot and we were laying all over the field with cramps and everything else. But in all actuality, if the Bills play better offensively, especially at the quarterback position, they win.
It was 11-7 with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
The defense loses Daquan. They lose Milano. They have all these injuries. They still get 5 sacks for minus 37 yards, right?
And I wanted to read the stats. So throughout the first 4 games, first 4 games, Allen saw blitzes on 21% of his dropbacks. He was 24 of 28 for 297 yards with 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 146.5 versus the blitz. So you would think, this is why people don't really blitz against us that much. Jacksonville sent 18 rushes of 5 or more players, the most of any Bills opponent this season. He was 8 of 16 for only 62 yards versus a blitz on Sunday.
Yep.
So this kind of goes to show, and we'll talk about it in the next half of the segment. It kind of shows the playbook of what defenses might want to do going forward. It's not just about blitzing. It's really, it's sending everyone and really getting Josh out of his rhythm. Once he's out of his rhythm, he starts to struggle. And I'm glad they finally threw away the playbook, but it was too late. 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They finally just abandoned the run and let Josh air it out. And look what happened. We scored freaking 3 times.
But what have we been doing over the last few games that has opened up the offense in the passing game? We've run the football, whether it be for 3 yards, whether it be for 15 yards. Okay. The team has to run the ball. And the most glaring comparative stat of the game was Jacksonville runs the ball 40 times for 196 yards,
200 yards.
And we run the ball 14 times for 29 yards. And then you compare time of possession. Jacksonville has the ball for almost 40 minutes. And we got it for 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Say what you will. Why, and that's probably my one issue I have with Dorsey is that I do think that when things are going a certain way and then all of a sudden he'll just have a game where it goes the wayside. And to me, 11-7 is not the time to panic.
Right.
Even at 25-20 at the final score. I mean,
we were trying to push, we were shoving the ball down their throats when it comes to running. It was just the run game was just not there. But Trigg said it here. We need to run the ball under center.
Why do we want to run the ball under center? Give me a reason why. Don't just tell me we need to run the ball under center. Give me a reason why we want to
we
run the
were
ball in
doing
center.
so many delayed handoffs from the freaking shotgun that it was so frustrating because it was 6 yards lost, 3 yards lost, like we were losing yardage doing it that way.
But
And it's like,
why? But
why? Well, let's
why
do the
is
play
the offense better? I want to know why.
because
I want to know why
of the
the
play
offense is
action.
better. Okay, the play action. So what do you have
Josh
to
is
do?
the best quarterback in the NFL. Play action.
Play action quarterback got hurt week 1 after 17 seconds.
I'm
And that
saying
was
right now,
Aaron Rodgers.
statistically, Josh Allen has been the best quarterback under center for play action.
No, I want to know. So you gave me an answer and you said play action. So I'll give you that. Okay. I'll give you that, but you can run play action out of shotgun too. Okay. You don't have to run play action under center all the time, but I just want to know when somebody says it's better because with him under center, well, what's better about it? We had no problem running the ball out of shotgun the last 3 weeks.
But it hasn't always been out of shotgun. We were
right.
under center a lot more than we were this week. I guess the other part is I hate having to run 6 yards just to get back to the line of scrimmage.
I don't. Again, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater to me. I don't.
You just want to argue with me today, Jerry.
No, I don't want to argue with you. I'm just stating facts. I mean, if you want to run the ball better, then block better. Okay? I mean, block better.
And that was another thing. So we had no sacks and everyone was like, oh, Josh was protected well. No, we also had, I think, 4 holding calls. So those should have been considered sacks, so, we've all been given, Osiris his flowers all season so far. He had 2 very big holds that were drive, stoppers. So as much as we want to give them their flowers, they also have to take the hits when they are due. And Dawkins also had a very hard time with the other Josh Allen. So I mean, they were stacking the box a lot. They had sometimes 8 guys like literally on the line of scrimmage. So it was definitely hard.
Keep going with this. That's
okay.
Good.
I mean,
keep going with this. You're getting to where I want to go. So keep going with this.
Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
No. You keep going with this. You're doing good.
You're doing good. I mean,
8 guys in the box would tell you to do what?
Well, in my opinion, it means that everybody's freaking single coverage downfield. So why aren't we throwing the ball?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right, Dorsey.
And so again, and this is where I keep going. I'm not putting the loss all on him, but again, I did not think that Josh Allen played particularly well.
Oh, I don't either until the end of the fourth quarter. I mean, like literally the end of the fourth quarter, he had some beautiful throws, and I actually tweeted out, "Man, this guy's incredible when he's on."
Right.
But he wasn't on for three and a half quarters. It's just it's as simple as that. That pass to Diggs from our 1 yard line to the 45 of the opposite 45. If it was put where it's supposed to be put and Diggs doesn't have to stop to catch that ball, that's a touchdown. Right. That was and that drive would have been a very different drive if that pass was more on target.
But a couple things, and I don't know. I get hung up on tangents when people make broad claims and then don't give me a reason why. So I actually agree with what you said earlier, which is yes, play action does seem to be more prevalent and easier to do when you are under center. That being said, you can also run play action from the shotgun. You can run a lot of RPOs. You can do all those different things. I didn't think we blocked very well. I did not think we played very well at quarterback. I don't think we played out very well offensively, period. But I think the biggest thing is that people think a 3-4 defense should be easier to run against, right? Because you got a head up nose guard, you got 2 ends. Actually, if you look at history, the 3-4 defense is a run-stopping defense. It's a tough defense to play against. Although Jacksonville had a very good game plan, I thought their defensive linemen being fresher because they had been over there gave our guys some fits up front with movement.
Who blew us out in preseason? Was it Pittsburgh? It was Pittsburgh, right? And they also have a 3-4 defense, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
We seem to have a problem with that.
Yep, exactly. So there is the trouble of that. And, some of it is you got, I love Mitch Morse. He's a great player. If you have a big physical nose guard, you're usually blocking that nose guard man to man all game. So it's tough to get some movement. Now, all of a sudden, you got Torrance has nobody over him. What is his number one strength? Power and all that, having hands on a guy right away. Now, all of a sudden, he's in space, right? And he's got to play up on a linebacker. So things were different.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and get to you want to go a little bit longer on this game, or do you want to get to the Giants?
No, we can move on, but let's go ahead and get a word in from our sponsor first.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Picture this: crystal clear vision without the hassle of glasses or contacts. Imagine watching Josh Allen's game-changing touchdowns with absolute clarity. At Fichte, Endel, and Elmer Eye Care, we can make that a reality. Now, in a matter of seconds with Zeiss Smile technology, you can see clearly and get back to doing the things you love as soon as the next day. Visit us online at Fichte.com and take our free self-test to see if you're eligible and schedule an evaluation. At Fichte, Endel, and Elmer Eye Care, we are focused on you. Go Bills.
All right, so it's up to this week, and Sarah, you sent me something, or you sent me something earlier that I did not know. I thought it was pretty interesting. And before we get into this game a little bit and talk about Mr. Dable and his issues that they're having in New York, give me your statistic that you told me earlier about teams coming back from London and the outcomes of the next week's game.
Yeah, 11 out of 11 teams coming back recently from playing overseas, from playing, in London, have been either tied or trailing heading into the fourth quarter of their next game that did not include a bye week. So yeah, it's a little concerning. It doesn't matter who you're taking on. So hopefully the Bills come back with a little bit of a grudge, a little bit of that heaviness on their shoulders, and they don't continue this trend. So 11 out of 11 teams who did not have a bye week were either trailing or tied heading into the fourth quarter.
With that being said, it seems that the Bills have, at least on this week of the schedule, have drawn appropriately. If you want to play a team after going to London and dealing with everything over there, it would be the Giants with the way they've got things going on. Obviously, the Giants are struggling quite a bit. They offensively, they're just absolutely horrific.
Yeah, and right now we don't know whether or not we're going to be taking on Daniel Jones or if we're going to be taking on Tyrod Taylor. That bothers me actually a little bit.
I don't really want to see Tyrod.
I don't want to see Tyrod. I'd rather see Daniel Jones. And it's terrible to say, but that's true.
Right.
But we have, and everyone's like, well, Tyrod used to be, play for the Bills. We have tape on him. No, we don't have tape on him in this offense on these Giants. We don't know whether or not, Waller's going to play. We don't know whether or not Saquon's going to play. There's a lot of unknowns, so it's hard to prepare, really. So the Giants we've seen over the last couple of weeks might not necessarily be the Giants we see Sunday night, which leads to, some really hard decisions to be made when it comes to preparing for them.
When you look at the Giants offensively, they rank 31st in the league in total yards, 31st in the league in passing yards, 23rd in the league in rushing yards, 31st in the league in points scored, and they are 26th in the lead in third down percentage. Just not the numbers you'd expect to see out of a Dable offense. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
one of the questionable things that they did, I will question him for doing is signing Daniel Jones to such a large contract in the offseason. He had a decent season last year. Did he have franchise quarterback season? I don't think so. So they were kind of playing their cards there, hoping that he would continue to progress and not regress. And he's not only regressed, he's completely shut down. So I honestly, they're saying that his intentions are to play. I think that Dayball would actually prefer he probably doesn't
Right.
at this point. I think realistically they have a better chance of winning with Tyrod Taylor
I agree with
against
Roy.
anybody.
Daniel Jones, Tyrod, it does not matter. The Bills should boat race the Giants.
Should.
Offensively, the Bills are top 5 in every category, but rushing yards, they are 16th in rushing yards after a 29-yard performance
Right.
in London this past weekend. Looking at the defenses, again, the Giants are not much better on defense. They are 24th in total yards, giving up 383.8 yards a game. Passing yards are ranked 19th. Rushing yards allowed 30th. They are 29th in points allowed and 24th defending third down. And, it's again, on paper, this should be a matchup that honestly, Bills are in a 1-game losing streak. The Giants have lost the last 3. They've won 2. They've won 1 game this season. Buffalo should. I agree. They should boat race them.
They should. No, it depends on what Giants end up seeing. So if we end up getting Tyrod Taylor and Saquon and Waller all playing, which have not played the last few weeks, it'll be a very different looking Giants team. Now, with that being said, I still think that our offense versus their defense is just not gonna, like, there's no comparison there.
What's weird,
Josh can put up 40 easy.
What's weird to me, 40 easy?
I think he can. I think if you look at the Giants, the way the Giants have been playing, I think, we can definitely put that much offensively on them.
I think the thing that is weird to me anyway is the fact that I'm not really. Yes, I would love Matt Milano to be back. We will miss him. We will miss his leadership, but I'm not really freaked out defensively. Daquan was playing at a high level when he got hurt, but I do think we have enough guys up front to absorb that loss. I think that
I think he was definitely playing at an all-pro level. I really do, but that's why we went out and got Puna Ford, and we kept 5 people at defensive tackle heading into the season. I'm not saying we didn't lose a lot when we lost Daquan, but the loss of Milano, I think, is going to hurt us more.
Well, I think that this is going to give, especially maybe with, and I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm being optimistic. And while we have nobody on the roster to be Matt Milano, I do think it'll be good for Williams to get out there and get more reps. I do think it'll be good for the other guys to come in and get some reps. I guess my biggest concern right now is Christian Bedford healthy enough to play this week? Because I think we've seen with Elam's performance last week and the signing of Josh Norman at the age of 86 that they're not very comfortable with what they got going on in the secondary.
I just want to say the people who have a problem with us signing Josh Norman to the practice squad are the same people that were clamoring over the summer for us to sign Calais Campbell and for us to sign what's his freaking name that's 41 over in Seattle. It's crazy. Everyone wanted us to sign all these people, and they're disregarding their age. We signed him to the practice squad. He's not going to play anytime soon. Benford was a participant today, so that's good. The only person that did not participate was Dane Jackson. My concern there is it looks like we're going to probably have to go out there with Benford and Elam as our starting corners this week. So Elam's going to continue to play. He needs to do better. He needs to get better. I think it's mental. I think at this point in time, him going out against the Giants should be the one game that's going to get his spirits up because he should go out there and have a very good game against those wide receivers, in my opinion.
But I think that this is one of those games where you can kind of measure on just, as we're racing to the end of the first quarter of the season, just how good is this football team. Good football teams have depth. Good football teams take care of business against inferior teams. Good football teams are able to come back from disappointments and perform well the next week.
Right.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing about this game against the Giants. While we sit here and we talk about on paper, this is a Bills team that does not have Daquan Jones, does not have Tre'Davious White, does not have Matt Milano. You talked about Dane Jackson not playing. Dawson Knox with his wrist. Is Rousseau going to be back this week?
Kincaid
Kincaid's in concussion protocol. So there obviously is concern, but I do think that the Bills have better depth than people actually want to give them credit for.
And I will say, so just for people who might have been under a rock today and don't know, Matt Milano, Daquan Jones were now added to the IR list as well. Obviously last week, Trey White was also added to the IR list. Benford was a limited participant today. Kingsley Jonathan was injured during the game, but he came back in. He's fine now. Kincaid, though, concussion protocol, Knox, wrist. Dane Jackson did not participate in practice today. We signed AJ Klein to the 53-man roster, and Balin Spector has been designated for a return, but he has not been returned to the 53-man roster. So it opened up the 21-day window. And then we signed Andrew Brown to the practice squad. So, a lot of moving parts. I will say Dotson actually, had a pretty decent game. So I kind of feel like we were complaining so much over him during the summer and during preseason. I feel like T-Dot is one of those guys that maybe doesn't push himself the same way during summer and during preseason, because he was all over the field on Sunday. So if he can continue doing that, he's going to be a very good depth piece for us. Spector, it'll be interesting to see him come back eventually and see how he can contribute. But Dorian Williams, he missed some tackles. I think he over pursued quite a bit, and we noticed that. But he also had some very good plays. So he's going to get thrown into the mix. And, we usually like to take that first year off for a lot of our rookies. He's not going to get that. So we're going to see what we got sooner rather than later, which is going to be a good or bad thing.
Real quick on Milano, I know they haven't come out and said anything other than it's not an ACL injury. It sounds like if I'm guessing, he's got a tibial plateau fracture.
That's what they're talking. Yeah.
The reason that McDermott is optimistic anyway, that is actually something I got in a preseason game against the Eagles. Had a tibial plateau fracture and came back in 10 weeks. Now, granted, I wasn't Matt Milano. So I wasn't moving the way Matt Milano does. Also, Matt Milano's a lot smaller than I am and is a lot lighter. So, I don't know, but it is doable. But it's
so they did not call it season ending.
Right. It's definitely a reach, but it's doable. So real quick, let's get a prediction on this before we're up against our 2-minute warning before we get to the fourth quarter, and we talk about a little college football. But I'll go first on the prediction since you went. Right. I want to hear you. I can't pick after.
I'm going to be overly optimistic.
Yes, I know you. Yes, that's why I can't pick after you. I say the Bills are sluggish early. They eventually take control, and the Bills win 27-10 over the Giants.
Oh, you're killing me. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be extremely optimistic. I think Josh Allen, after a loss like that, he comes out with a little bit of a vengeance. Yeah, I have 41-13.
41-13. You heard it from Sarah. Josh Allen himself is going to score 40 points on his own.
No.
He's going to have 40.
No. 41. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. I need Stephon Diggs to give me some fantasy points. So he's definitely gonna have 3 touchdowns himself. So
I'm starting to think that an hour is not enough time for us because I feel like we left a lot out there.
I think
But,
I just went. I talked too much about London. So
well, the problem is after this game we needed like a 2-part show. We needed an hour for
to rant and rave about what happened,
and then an hour to actually talk about the games. But anyway, so Bills Giants, it is color rush time on Sunday Night Football, 7:30 Eastern, or I guess it's 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 7:30 Central. So right now it's time for us to move on to a little bit of college football. We'll talk about our picks, talk about the big games of the week. It is the fourth quarter, brought to you by, and by the way, Sarah got some and I got some. I had that nice, hot, old style small pepperoni that curls up when you put it in the oven. Picasso's Pizza, our fourth quarter segment sponsored by Picasso's Pizza, Buffalo's Pizza.
Hey, football fans, the season is here, so you know that means family, football, and food. But for the NFL's best fan base, it can't be just any food. Bills Mafia only eats the best during the season, and the best is Picasso's Pizza. With 4 great locations in Western New York, it's so easy to treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's. We are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net.
Fourth quarter, as we talk about this week's college football, we'll talk about last week's picks a little bit as well, as Sarah and I do a pick 'em on CBS every week. But again, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, jump on over to YouTube, jump in the comments like Daryl, Matt, Pablo jumping in from Brazil, I believe, or at least he says he's Brazilian. I'm assuming he's in Brazil. Maybe not. Maybe he's over here. But Josh Vaughn, we appreciate you jumping in on the comments as always, and all our regulars. All like Triggs and everybody that comes on every week. We appreciate you guys as well. And real quick, man, hit the like and the subscribe button. Help us out as we come to you every week on Wednesday nights, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. And where do you want to start? You want to start at the picks? Or you want to go AP Top 25 poll?
We'll do the AP. I don't want to talk about our picks.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, I talk about mine when they're trash. I mean, that's okay. I'm okay.
Just joking. I went with the spreads a little crazy last week, and
but anyway,
I was really bad last week.
Instant classic Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Central, noon Eastern. Instant classic OU Texas comes down to the last minute and a half of the game, and just an absolutely awesome game. If you did not watch it.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch it, but I did see the replays and everything. Being over, in London, it was hard to watch any games.
But the top 25, Georgia stays at 1, Michigan stays at 2, Ohio State at 3, Florida State jumps up 1 to 4, OU jumps like 5 or more spots to number 5. You got Penn State, Washington, and Oregon side by side at 7 and 8. That's the marquee game of the week this week. Is those two powerhouses offensively take on one another. Texas falls to 9, and hey,
which shouldn't have happened. That's ridiculous.
Southern Cal gives me hope because they win with great offense and absolutely trash defense. So if we have more injuries, at least we know that somebody like Southern Cal can win.
But the fact that they are still 10th and they're literally winning by the shoestrings, and then they had Texas fall 6 spots.
But I want to touch on something. If you want to jump on SC, and why are they still in the top 10?
It's because of Caleb Williams. That's it.
How in the absolute hell is Miami still in the top 25 after what Cristobal did this weekend to lose that football game?
So
they should actually cancel the rest of the season and not play anymore.
So I did want to touch on that. Obviously, the game started at 1:00 a.m. my time, so I only was able to watch a little bit of it. I woke up to worst decision ever, doesn't take a knee, yada yada yada. And then I'm like, how? I will say, for those of you who didn't watch the game or don't know what happened, Mario Cristobal decides to get our running back his first 100-yard rushing game, and decides to hand the ball off with 40 seconds left or something like that, whatever it was. We were up by 3 points at that point in time. He hands the ball off and he gets his 100 yards and then fumbles. Well, he was down. Just to let you know, he was down. I have seen every which way and ifs or buts. His elbow was down. He was down.
Please.
Anyways, I will send you the picture after this.
They have replay.
They came back and sent them all of the things.
No.
And their reply was, the ACC came back and said, during the game, they're only don't say no. During the game, they're only afforded certain angles. They were
Sarah,
given the
if all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge too?
Jerry, I am telling you, he was down. I will send you the picture. I will send you the picture.
I don't think they have replay.
They came back and said that during the game, they were afforded a certain number of replay angles, as many angles as they got. There was nothing to overturn it that was clear and decisive at that point. 100%.
I wish G must have had it great when he was a kid. Because
Jerry,
you were that mom that went to school all the time and said it was never your son's fault, right? You were always
number one, regardless of him being down. Regardless of him being down, Mario made the wrong decision.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's here, no there. He made the decision. They should have knelt the ball, of course. Kneeling the ball, the game's over with. Period. I don't care. Period. But I'm just saying that all the freaking terrible decisions that were made, that the call was wrong. He was down. It should not have been a fumble. But for everybody else who didn't watch the game, after that, a 44 freaking yard ridiculous touchdown pass afterwards, it was a clear, ridiculous, I can't believe this and this all happened in freaking 50 seconds to make this, ridiculousness end up.
I don't know what number. I don't know who he was.
With the Miami Hurricanes end up losing.
I don't know what number he was. I can't remember who he was, but the guy who stood on the bench that said, "What in the hell are we doing?" He summed it up absolutely perfectly.
In the end, that call, and that I think that's why I'm so angry and frustrated with it, is because that call could have serious recruiting implications. I didn't see us in the national championship conversation this year whatsoever. But the recruiting conversation, we had 2 5-star top 10 recruits in attendance that could choose. Oh, heck no. I don't want to play for that guy.
Can I say something?
No, because you're just making me even more angry.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter what they did. As long as Cristobal's giving them more money than the other dude, he can make any decision he wants. Okay. Obviously, recruiting is not based on that alone. Obviously, we know now it's mostly NIL, but seriously, I mean, everybody understands what he was trying to do, right? If I get a first down or I run it a little bit before I kneel it, I won't give them the ball back with any time. And of course,
wouldn't have had time left anyways.
The disaster happens. I mean, hell, Herman Edwards still gets jobs based off of the music, based off of the Meadowlands Miracle.
Their math was terrible. They wouldn't have had any time left on the clock anyways. Regardless, terrible decision.
I can't believe. I can believe because you are you ride for your teams like nobody I've ever seen in my life, and I appreciate that about you. I really, really do. I can't believe you're going to break out the candid picture to show me that he was down.
I am going to send you the freaking picture. He was down, and I sent it to a couple people today. Everyone's ticked off. He was down. Again, he should have been knelt. If they would have kneeled the ball, this would be a non-freaking starter. We would not be even talking about this. But
Hey, the best thing to
mean,
happen in Miami this week is the fact that this weekend I think the stone crab season opens. So Joe's will be open here in the next couple of days. So that's the best thing that's going on down in Florida.
but anyways, we take on North Carolina this week. So
Yeah, you jump
we
right
will,
back into it because they're
and
undefeated.
yeah, we'll be and it's in North Carolina. So obviously going into Chapel Hill is going to be a hard task. Hopefully we're not hungover from that loss because we tend to hang on to those things. I've noticed that with the Hurricanes over the last 20 years that after a bad loss it tends to stick with us. So hopefully Mario can right the ship with these guys and they go out there and show that it was a stupid game. With all that being said, the Hurricanes also should not have been in that position in the fourth quarter where they were just barely hanging on by 3 points against a team that they should have literally blown out. So everyone wants to blame the weather, the rain, whatever. It is what it is. I'm moving on. It was a
Let's go to the
weekend.
game of the week. Let's go to the game of the week. If you
Terrible
like offense,
weekend.
if you
All
like
right.
offense, if you love offense, is that last week or is that this week?
This is this week. We don't need to
Okay.
do this.
Let's just go right to the third game, okay, real fast. And if you like offense, folks, the number one game of the week is obviously number 7 versus number 8. You've got Washington versus Oregon. Offensively, you have the top 2 total yard teams in the country playing against one another in Washington. You've got Washington, it's first in the country at 571.6 yards per game. Oregon second with 560.8 yards per game. Washington comes in with passing yards. They lead the country in passing yards, 446.4 yards a game. Oregon slightly less. They're at 11th with 330.6. Rushing yards, this is hilarious. Oregon's ranked 18th, 227. I can't even read that. Washington's ranked 186th. They have 123 a game. Points, Washington's third. Points, Oregon second. Third downs, 26th and 15th. I mean, absolutely. I expect fireworks.
Yeah.
There this weekend.
I think
and
Oregon's defense is a little bit better.
I know it's not a little bit better. It's a lot better. It's a lot better.
I picked this one with my heart. So obviously, most people that have listened to the show know that my dad was born and raised right outside of Seattle. Both my dad and my uncle have ties to both Washington and Washington State. My dad went to Washington State. My uncle went to UW. So I definitely have spent my life watching both Washington teams.
Watching them really late at night.
Yes. Which it makes it easier though for me actually because I spend the rest of the day watching the Hurricanes or
Right.
whatever else. So and back when I was younger, Syracuse. So I still pick Washington. I am a little nervous that Oregon has the better team because I do feel like their defense is better. I'm hoping that playing in Seattle is gonna help them out, and so I went with UW.
Penix, obviously, Michael Penix Jr. is a tremendous quarterback for Washington. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Nix, the transfer from Auburn, does a little bit more with his legs. He can run more than Penix does. Penix gets the ball out so fast. Was able to go up there earlier this season and watch them when they played Tulsa. But you talk about defensive comparisons. Washington's defense is ranked 129th, 193rd, 82nd, 140th, and 167th in all statistical categories, while Oregon is ranked 27th, 22nd, 42nd, 75th, and 73rd. So Oregon does have the advantage defensively.
Yeah.
I like the Ducks. I think the Ducks are a really, really good football team. I think that they go ahead, and I think the biggest thing is going to be, obviously, can you stop either? This isn't one of those games where you stop either team. You hope to get more stops than the other. I think Oregon's more equipped to get more stops than Washington. I'm also curious to see if Oregon can get to to Penix where other teams have really not been able to. He
Not been
pretty
able
much
to.
doesn't get touched. I think last year he got hit like maybe 4 or 5 times the entire season. So should be a good one. And
Yeah, I think the other
should
good
tune in.
game, obviously, USC and Notre Dame. I think we both have, USC winning because their offense. I think that they're just going to be able to outscore Notre Dame. I still think it's going to be very close. Notre Dame is actually favored in the game. Miami, North Carolina. North Carolina is statistically got the better team. Is playing in North Carolina. I went with my heart on this one. I wasn't going to pick against Miami after the blunder last week. And I think the other big game, Auburn and LSU. I'm done picking against LSU. Every time I pick against them, they win, and it's ridiculous. So,
You want to talk about being terrible defensively. I've never, ever in my lifetime have seen an LSU defense as bad as that one is.
And I went against them last week, and they ended up freaking blowing out the team. So I've just, at this point in time, I think the other game that surprised me last week was UCLA. Them coming out and
Yeah, that
winning.
surprised me too. Yeah, it really did.
So them against Oregon State this week will be an interesting game. I still think that being at home at Oregon, I went with Oregon State. But it'll be an interesting game seeing them match up against each other.
Moving back real quick because we ain't got much time left in this fourth quarter before we get out of here for this week's Line to Gain show. But I want to go back to that Notre Dame USC game.
Mm-hmm.
You got the USC ranked 10th, right? Notre Dame ranked 21st. Obviously, you can argue and say that Caleb Williams is the best college quarterback in the country.
Or maybe ever.
Notre Dame is laying 3 points in this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving 3.
Yep.
If Notre Dame puts up a bunch of points against USC, which I guess could happen because USC's defense is not very good again.
Terrible.
I mean, I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, I think the USC is just going to – I mean, maybe Notre Dame's defense is good enough to slow them down. I don't know, but I just think that
I don't see it.
There's something about that spread that has me a little bit freaked out.
Yeah, it's confusing to me a little bit other than the fact that it's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's lost 2 competitive games this year against 2 good teams. I feel like Notre Dame has taken on harder teams than USC has so far. Maybe that's where it is that the competition they've seen has been stronger. But and also the fact that USC just doesn't have a defense. So I think it's going to be a score for score. But in the end, I just feel like USC is going to be able to pull off that one additional score. And you just said it with Caleb Williams being probably the best quarterback in college football, this year. Some people are saying maybe ever. They're saying that he is probably one of the biggest prospects ever to come out of college football, one of the best prospects ever. If you watch him play, he's tremendous. I haven't seen a part of his game yet that would, that raises any concerns whatsoever. So
hey, real quick,
if you're an NFL fan, please watch Caleb Williams so you can just see him play before he gets drafted into the NFL, so we can kind of compare as he goes into the NFL.
And by the way, it's not a given that he's going to come out this year. He wants to pull an Eli Manning.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play for Arizona.
He actually makes more money in NIL than he would under his rookie contract, which is great, which is absolutely crazy to me. So I guess if NIL if it does have an advantage, it's keeping some of our better college players in college longer in school. So, take that for what it's worth. But hey, real quick before we get out of here, my Philadelphia Phillies, they are now up 2-1 against the Braves. Tomorrow night, they get a chance to shut it out at Citizens Bank. My man M3P, Bryce Harper, with 2 bombs tonight.
I was going to say, someone said, did he just break the internet? Someone tweeted that out, but I didn't know why. I wasn't able to catch the game.
Yeah,
so.
And Phillies hit 6 bombs in all and win 10-2 tonight over the Braves. So let's hope the Phillies close it out tomorrow night. Red October. It's awesome. But playoff baseball is the best. So anyway, but hey, as always, we appreciate you coming on. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back next week on Wednesday night, 9:00. Hopefully talking about a very, very dominating Bills win over the Giants. We'll also get into a little bit of college football. We'll talk about that Oregon and Washington matchup, USC, Notre Dame, some of the better games this week. But as always, I'm the big O, Jerry Ostroski. She is Sara Larson. Thanks for joining us. And as always, one Bills and go one Bills, one love and go Bills.
Go Bills.